So let's do this quarrelsome. Yes, let's quickly skim through this. I'm just going to give you 30 seconds. I'm hoping all of you took the exam, but at least for those of you who did not and who are here with us, let's just give them 30 seconds, skim the passage, and then we'll quickly brainstorm and look at the answers. Okay, so I already have option 3 of 5 for this first blank. Let's read. India can increase its GDP by up to 60% by 2025 by dash more women to participate in its workforce. A 2015 study by the McKinsey Global Institute had stated. So in that context, there's a clue word for you, right? Yeah? What's the clue word? Can somebody tell me what the clue word is? In the first blank, the context is giving us a clue word. What is the clue phrase in the first sentence? I have other options as well. One also, somebody, Vichinu says, why not 1? So most of you have come back and said option 5, participants is clue word, increase is clue word. Exactly. So for me, so if I have to substitute that blank with my own word, what word will I use, right? India can increase its GDP by up to 60% by 2025 by dash more women to participate in its workforce. By dash more women to participate in its workforce means making some sort of a provision, creating some sort of an opportunity, right? Making a process or creating a process where women are able to participate, where women are able to indulge. Indulging is the same meaning as participating, na? Why would you pick participate? Indulging, which is bringing in a redundant meaning. It's the same as participating. If I want to indulge in something, meaning I want to participate in that, right? Those are synonyms, in fact. So I wouldn't want to pick indulging, option 5. I would want to pick a word that gives me that meaning where I am trying to create an opportunity. I am trying to create an environment that is helping women to participate. Which is the right word? Enabling. What is the meaning of to enable someone means to make it easy for them, no? To create that sort of an environment or opportunity so that they are able to indulge, so that they are able to participate. So you can't say by indulging more women to participate, because indulging and participate are the same meaning. So those of you who said option 5, incorrect. Option 3 would be our answer, enabling. India can increase its GDP by up to 60% by 2025 by enabling more women. Create that path. Encourage them, right? Make it easy for them. Make it happen for them. More women to participate in its work. Force, a 2015 study by the McKinsey Global Institute had stated. Yeah, let's move to our second blank. However, social and cultural constraints can dash this from becoming a reality. What are my options for blank 2? I have restrict, prevent, allow, blow, refuse. Usually enable does follow. Enabling is followed by 2. I can enable someone to do something. Hai na? So I have somebody saying 1, somebody saying 2. Think about it. It's the same meaning. You guys are making the same mistake that you made for blank 1 option. Think about if there is some sort of a redundancy in meaning that you're picking. However, social and cultural restraints can dash this from becoming a reality. I want you to think about the answer that you're giving me and tell me if there is, in terms of a collocation also, I want you to apply a little bit of collocation. What would be the right word? There is a clue word again in the context for the second blank. Can somebody identify that clue word, please? What is the clue word for the second blank? From the context. See, okay, let me tell you in terms of a construction, okay? You can restrict something to something, okay? But you always prevent something from happening, right? So in terms of sentence construction, the most fitting word is option 2 rather than option 1, right? So look at the context. Many women who work outside home, however, social and cultural constraints can prevent this from becoming a reality. So if I have to look at restrict, so let's look at some examples. Okay, I can say parents restrict internet access to certain websites, right? So you restrict something to something, right? But you prevent someone from doing something. So when I say restrict, yes, you're limiting something, right? But when you're saying preventing, it's saying, right, from becoming a reality. So you're preventing something happening. Restricting, what is the meaning of restrict? You're limiting it. But prevent is, you're avoiding it even becoming something. There's a slight difference there. And the context is giving us not restrict meaning, but prevent meaning. Right? You can, I can restrict accepting people as friends on Instagram or Facebook, whatever. Right? So where, what meaning am I saying? I am limiting the number of requests that I'm receiving as Facebook friend request or Instagram, whatever they want to follow. I am restricting it, right? I can restrict calls to emergency calls only, limiting it. But if I have to say prevent, you always prevent something from becoming something else. Right? And that's the meaning that we need. So though most of you came back and said restrict, not our option, that's not the right word here. The word that we need is you prevent something from happening, right? Let me just write that down. You prevent something from happening or becoming a reality in our context. Yeah, are you following? Any doubts? So our answer is prevent. Can allow this, blow this, refuse this are all incorrect options, the remaining 3 options. So our answer is 2. Any questions before we move forward? Okay, we're going to move to the next one. Many women who work outside home dash have primary household and parenting dash that needs to be balanced with their work life. So let's look at third one. Our options are still, must, yet, thus, so. What is your answer for the third blank? Many women who work outside home dash have primary household and parenting. This is relatively an easier one, right? I mean, as soon as you read the context, you know, only one word fits grammatically and contextually. I hope nobody has different answers to this blank, third blank. Okay, I'm looking at different answers already. So somebody is saying 2, somebody is saying, some of you are saying 3. So let's look at all our options for this blank, right? So many women who work outside home dash have primary household and parenting dash that need to be balanced with their work life. So they are expressing a situation, right? Now in the context, what can I quickly eliminate? I can eliminate thus and so, because thus and so are hint words that bring in reason and cause, right? Like a consequences. But that's not what we want. So I'm going to eliminate thus and so. It will not fit our context, right? Because most of you have come back and either said 1, 2 or 3, we're going to look at those 3. Many women who work outside home so have primary household and parenting? No, right? Because so is either an intensifier which modifies an adjective or an adverb, which is not the case in our context, or it is a cause and effect hint word, right? So if I say I was late, so I was unable to finish the work, right? So which means it's giving me it's a hint word, it's a conjunction, brings in the meaning of, you know, the reason why this happened is, right? Or I can do something so that something can happen, right? That's not the meaning the context is giving. So I will eliminate option 5. So, likewise, thus. Thus means what? Therefore, thus, therefore, a consequence hint word. That's not the meaning in our context. So we eliminated 4 and 5. Let's look at quickly 1, 2 and 3. So many women who work outside home yet have primary household and parenting dash. Would that be correct? Or many women who work outside home must have primary household and parenting. So if you look at the context, right? If you look at the context is only telling me that this is the situation. The current situation is they don't have a choice, right? It's not like they can focus on one thing exclusively. They have to balance, at least women who are working, right? They have to balance their work life as well as their household responsibilities. Especially working women, right? They don't have a choice, which means you can't say many women who work outside home must have primary household. What is must? Must is a modal verb which brings in the meaning of obligation, right? You must pay your taxes. You must follow the traffic rules. That's not the meaning that we need here. By, I will eliminate must. Now some of you are coming back and saying, hey, let me project the PPT. Some of you are coming back and saying, why not yet, right? And some of you are leaning towards still. Now let's quickly look at yet in terms of construction and what meaning it brings, right? So yet as a conjunction brings in the meaning of but, है ना? Sometimes. Yet can function differently. It functions as an adverb, it functions as a conjunction. But as a conjunction, if I say the movie was a horror movie, yet I decided to go, right? I don't like horror movies, yet I decided to go. So which means though it was a horror movie and I don't like horror movies, I decided to go, yet I decided to go, right? That's sort of a meaning. So if you look at the context, I would usually, it depends on the positioning of yet as well. Let's look at some example sentences. I'll write it down so it will make more sense to you. Yeah. So different meanings, yet again you should remember that yet has different meanings in different contexts, right? If I say hey, has so and so finished the test, or is he still taking the test? So I can say no, Tanvi hasn't finished yet, right? So in this context, yes, like some of you said, yet does bring in the meaning of still. Right? Or if you're deciding to go out somewhere, right? Let's say you're getting ready to go for a movie. So your friend comes in and says, hey, are you ready? And then you say, no, not yet. Wait for 5 minutes, whatever. Right? So in these example sentences, it does bring in the meaning of still. But in our context, right, what we're saying is without a choice. Or I can say, did you happen to pass on the message to so and so? No, I haven't yet done that. I can say the same thing with, I still haven't done that. Same meaning in terms of still and yet. But in our context, what meaning do we have? Let's look at some example sentences with still. Okay, just to have a differentiation in terms of. So if you look at still always brings the meaning of continuing to happen or continuing to be done, right? So I can say, I still haven't finished writing my blog, for example. Okay. So in this context, still would be a more effective word than yet. I yet haven't finished writing my blog is not as effective as I still haven't finished writing my blog. Why? Because we're talking about here an action that is continuing to happen or continuing to be done, right? Which means I can say, okay, you had breakfast? Yes, I had breakfast, but I'm still hungry, right? I can't really replace yet there in that context. I can't say I'm yet hungry. I have to say I'm still hungry. Why? Because I'm talking about an action that is continuing as a process, right? I ate my breakfast, but I'm still hungry. Are you following? Are you understanding the difference between still and yet? I can pretty much replace yet with still, but not vice versa. I can't replace still with yet in certain contexts. Now, in our context also, the meaning that we're saying is many women who work outside home still have primary household and parenting dash, which means we are saying this is a process that is continuing. This is something that they have to juggle with and deal with day in and day out. This is like a current situation that is happening, right? They don't have a choice. So in that context, I'm just trying to bring out the difference for you between still and yet in certain example sentences and how it brings out or expresses a specific meaning. I can't replace still in the examples that I just gave you. right? Likewise, there's a slight difference for you to keep in mind. So here, still would be our best bet rather than yet. Are you following? So in certain contexts, though yet brings in the meaning of still, I have to look at the context and see what is it expressing, what meaning is the context expressing. Yeah, so our answer is still. So those of you who said still, good to go. In terms of sentence construction, that may be the case. Yeah, most of the example sentences, if you see, yet does come at the end, but that is not like a standard rule as such, right? I mean, we can't say that that is a rule. I don't want to go by that. Very, very tricky. Because I have come across a lot of sentences where yet comes in the middle as well. So let's not say that as a rule or a standard to follow, right? Which would be misleading. Okay, we're going to move on to the fourth blank. So many women who work outside home still have primary household and parenting dash that need to be balanced with their work life. Our options are priorities, liabilities, accountability, responsibilities, and care. I am yet to see the movie. Yeah, so some of you coming back and saying option 4, responsibilities. So basically we are talking about the work that they have, right? Work outside home, work inside home. Work inside home is not a liability. We're not talking about priorities here. Not nobody's talking about any accountability. We're talking about responsibility. Again, referring to work, right? So it has to be option 4. Moving forward, what do you think is a liability? When I say someone is liable, a liability is something that you're legally responsible for, no? Let's not bring in the legal thing here, legal aspect here. We're saying simply parents have certain responsibilities. As parents, as working women, you do have a responsibility not just at your workplace, you also have responsibilities at home that you need to take care of. That's what they're talking about, right? So a liability is, in fact, it has different meanings, right? A liability can also be a risk, something that causes you a lot of trouble. Right? Like, for example, a car that you own can become a liability after a certain point of time. Are you following what I'm saying? Yeah. So, not a liability. Yes, most of you are correct. The ones who said option 4, that's our answer. Let's move on. Fifth blank. Studies estimate that India's ambitious target dash achieving 175 GW of renewable energy by 2022 could create 330,000 jobs in the wind and solar energy sectors alone. So what are our options for fifth blank? While, of, with, for, and in. A target while achieving, incorrect. A target of achieving, yes. A target with achieving, incorrect. A target for achieving, one or two of you have come back and said option 4 as well. And then I have target in achieving. Anybody for 5? Okay, so what is the clue word for you to identify the right preposition here? Nobody's, so most of you are toggling between 2 and 4. Okay, let's quickly take this, okay? Let's quickly look at this context, right? It's a very tricky one. Hint word is by, I think. Where is by? Oh, by 2022. Okay, I'm going to project the context and I want you to listen to what I'm saying, okay? So, studies estimate that India's ambitious target dash achieving 175 GW of renewable energy by 2022 could create 330,000 jobs in the wind and solar energy sectors alone. Which means we are talking about the target is already set. Okay? The target is already set and they're saying because of that target, there is a possibility of could, right? Your possibility modal verb, right? There is a possibility of creating so many jobs. Which means I am looking at what is India's target, right? So if I look at the concept, we are not talking about in as a preposition brings in the meaning of in a particular area, in a particular sector. That's not the meaning that the context is bringing. For as a preposition brings in the meaning of purpose, right? The purpose is to create 330,000 jobs in the wind and solar energy sectors, right? The purpose is not about creating the target or anything. The target is already set. The target that belongs to the estimate, studies estimate that India's, so the target is already set, which means the most effective preposition that will come here is option 2. India's ambitious target of this target of 175 blah 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 of renewable energy by 2022 could possibly create, so the purpose is to create that many jobs. The focus is not on the target that is already set. There is a target. Studies estimate, which means they have already, estimate is to come up with some sort of a rough calculation, right? So, in terms of where the focus should be, you would rather choose of as a preposition because they are working towards that. Studies estimate that India's ambitious target, which means this is something that's already done and in place, right? So in and for would be not a very effective prepositions in this context. Slightly tricky one, because if you are not following context, if you're not paying attention to where the focus is, you might tend to get misled, because in and for as a construction might work in the context, right? It seems like it's not grammatically incorrect, but in terms of effectiveness, I would lean more towards of as a preposition, because we're talking about a set target, right? The target belongs to, the ambitious target is already set, and that ambitious target of the belongs to India, right? So that's the meaning I want. Moving forward, can this rapidly growing industry create jobs and entrepreneurial opportunities for women? Can it? As a construction, yeah, Sony. Fine. And can dash, what are my options for sixth blank? And can this, may, these heavy opportunities provide better salaries and healthcare benefits, skilling and training opportunities, and dash the quality of life for women and their families. So for the sixth blank, what is my clue word? If you narrow down on the clue word, you know what your answer is, right? Because we're looking at some sort of a determiner for that word. What is the clue word for sixth blank? This should be easy. Yeah, what's your clue word? Most of you are unanimously coming with option 4. What's the clue word that helped you decide that for the sixth blank? Yes, one of the easiest blanks, I would say, in the closed passage. Opportunities, yes, absolutely, right? Plural noun number, so I can eliminate anything and everything which, especially option 2, because it's expressing singular meaning, right? It has to be these. The, may and heavy just doesn't make sense. Yeah, this blank was very easy. Let's move on. Seventh one. So, and can these opportunities provide better salaries and healthcare benefits, skilling and training opportunities, and dash the quality of life for women? So, subdue, forsake, enhance, equip, curtail. What do you think is the right fit here? Obviously, we need a positive word, right? So, what can I quickly eliminate? Subdue, forsake, and curtail. All negative words, right? I have to choose between enhance and equip. What will it be? Yeah. So your clue phrase again is the quality of life itself, right? You can equip someone, but you can only enhance the quality of something, right? So it has to be option 3. So I hope nobody made any mistake here as well. So 6th and 7th blank relatively easier as compared to probably the previous blanks where some of you had different answers. Let's look at our last blank. What can decision makers in government and in the private sector do to dash the inclusion of women in this growing sector? Our options for the 8th blank is deepen, support, wide, grasp, and involve. What can decision makers in the government and in the private sector do to dash the inclusion of more women in this growing sector? Yeah, this one also a lot of you are coming back and saying option 2. So the objective here is to include more women in the private sector. That's the objective, right? So the right word is, keeping in mind the context, we're trying to enhance the quality of life for the women, right? So it has to be option 2, right? Why would you say deepen? See, I can say option 3 wide if it was widen, W-I-D-E-N, right? It's not in the right form. Look at it. I don't have N here. Involve is redundant, absolutely, because you have the word inclusion, out. To grasp, no. They are not talking about understanding the situation, they're talking about supporting the women. And if I have to choose between 1 and 2, I would choose 2, right, which is more inclined or more effective in terms of the given context. Look at the entire context, look at the context as a whole. When would you use deepen? When I'm saying I need this objective to be met, so that's why I'm specifying, or I'm focusing on the objective. The objective is to include more women in the private sector, right? In order for this objective to be met, the decision makers need to deepen it or support it, right? Not deepen it. That just doesn't make sense, logical sense. Because deepen is to intensify something, stronger. Are you guys with me? Okay.